Welcome back to the channel. Hey guys, yesterday I made a call on SanDisk. I told you to watch the $1,000 threshold, that we were definitely crossing that threshold today. But I expected the profit taking to happen after the threshold. But the market just didn't want to wait. The whales blinked and we saw that flush with SanDisk happen right before the bell even rang this morning. I was wrong on the timing with the stock, but I was not wrong on the sentiment overall with the stock in the sector. The tension in this sector right now is at an all-time high. We may be entering a bit of a breaking point for these stocks just based on the explosive runs we have seen over the last couple of weeks. But while the world was watching SanDisk stumble this morning, I was tracking something different. I was watching Micron's moves. Because remember, as I talked about yesterday, despite that sideways consolidation or sideways chop that we saw throughout the day, there was strong conviction for Micron going into the Monday close. We saw accumulation. We saw after hours strength. And today, that fundamental fuse that we saw yesterday was lit on fire in the market. Micron just didn't bounce today. It erased all the doubters. We're going to get into that graph. I'm going to show you the performance across the board. And the storage giants, Western Digital, Seagate, the broken record theory that I told you yesterday continued today. Every single time these stocks trade, they are setting new records, finding new heights, and today was no exception. We're going to break down the anatomy of a recovery versus the anatomy of a consolidation today. I want to break down the tail of the tape looking at both Micron and SanDisk because we had such divergence today between those two stocks. What happened? What drove the sentiment between those two? I'll give you a little bit of my thought on the storage players overall, and then I'm going to give you my outlook for tomorrow on what I expect to see at opening bell tomorrow. So if you haven't done it already, hit like, hit subscribe to the channel. Guys, I asked you yesterday that if you found value in this channel, if you learned something on this channel, to hit subscribe. I had almost 200 people subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. You know we have a goal to end April with 6,000 subscribers. We're getting pretty close right now. I think last time I looked, we're about just over 5,700. We're well on our way. So if you haven't done it yet, do me a favor, subscribe today. Let's blow out that goal that we have for the month. Let's keep setting new highs for this channel. And let's dive in right now and talk about the tail of the tape and what we saw overall in today's trading action. Before we do that, though, I just want to jump over and just take a look at a Barron's article that just showed, if you look at the top of your screen, the Dow was up today, but the fact the NASDAQ gained for the 10th consecutive session. That's amazing news. We're finally getting all of this fear and anxiety of the market. We're getting back to the bull run that we need to be at. And just take a look at the graph here. Look at how the NASDAQ has just outperformed the other indexes. It's been a really strong position overall. And if we look at the NASDAQ, you can see it's the NASDAQ 100, what drove today. We're seeing really strong recoveries with the Mag 7 across the board. Well, you look at them all, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Meta, Amazon, Tesla, they're all growing, with the exception of Apple was down today. But really strong recovery, really strong performance with those. And then Micron sitting there right in the middle at over a 9% growth, amazing performance. Even if you can see them, two small rectangles down towards the bottom, I'll call them out here. There's our two other members of our Fab Four, Western Digital and Seagate, both with strong days today overall. SanDisk was one outlier today. Actually, I'll show you it. If I jump over here, you can see it right there on the board. SanDisk was down about 0.87. But if you were tracking the stock, you would probably say, and I don't know if you would agree with me, oh, I'll take it. About the amount of performance, when I get to the pattern chart in a moment, you'll see it flush down to almost $900 right out of the gate. For it to get back and close at 944, amazing recovery, amazing sign of support for that stock. So we're going to jump into that in a moment. But let's first go over and just take a look at the tail of the tape for Micron. Let's just start at Micron. And let me change this view so you can see everything below. There you go. So because I want to show you first, if I just drag, here's that accumulation that I said yesterday, right here. This kind of strip is how we finished yesterday. This was the strong conviction into the close yesterday. That rounded bottom I talked about, really nice performance, that volume going in, the after hours move that we saw. That's why I was so bullish on this stock, that it was going to come out of the gates fast tomorrow. And just look at where we finished yesterday and look at where we went. If you just drew a diagonal line, that is an amazing, like a 45-degree angle, right? Straight up through. That's exactly what you want to see. That is a sign of strong conviction with any stock if I've ever seen one. It was an amazing day, 9% growth overall. I think Micron put up almost $40 a share today. So really strong support. A little bit of selling pressure in the beginning though. This was a bit surprising to me because we saw strong after hours moves. We saw strong conviction, but remember that RSI was really high to finish the day yesterday. And so if there was any concern I had was a little bit of algorithmic selling based on that RSI. You can see it down here to end the day. It was up over 70. It looks like there probably was some algorithmic selling, but that was immediately bought back. I mean, it drove right back up within that first hour. It already cleared, like right here, it closed that first hour at 440 and just didn't hold back. The stock drove all the way up to 466 almost today. And here's where I would say I have a little anxiety going into tomorrow. And you may feel the same way as me. Drop a comment below after you hear what I'm going to say. 470 is a number for me that still gives me a little bit of the shakes because we know 470 for Micron was the number this stock hit right before their earnings on March 18th. And we know what happened after that. The stock just fell through the floor, but we're back to where we were, right almost on the, right at that point, just below it, 446. We're about to cross that threshold. Will we do it tomorrow? I honestly am not sure. I think we're going to see a little bit of a pullback, if I'm being full honest tomorrow. I think this stock is so on fire right now. You look at what the RSI is as well, kind of peaking up to about 77 right here at the end. There's a lot of pressure on the stock. I think we could see a little bit of selling in the morning as well. The after hours right now for all four of the memory titans, the Fab Four, are showing a little bit of selling pressure. So it just has me thinking, have we been on such a parabolic run with all of these stocks, particularly the storage players, SanDisk? Will we see a little bit more of profit taking, a little healthy reset overall before we can get up and go to the next level? I think we might. If I'm being honest, the way I feel right now, I think we're probably going to see a little bit of that. I could get a sense we could see Micron push back down to the 435, 440 level, and I think that's perfectly healthy. I think we'll see support come back in and push it up again. And we have a lot of strong sentiments happening this month with earning calls towards the end of the month. We have our Mag 7 calls, but we know we have Samsung, SK Hynix, Western Digital. We also have SanDisk calls all at the end of the month that give a bullish sentiment for the stock. Let's go in and just take a look at SanDisk first, because I want to show you the differences in the tail of the tape between these two. SanDisk had a wild day. And so here you can see out of the gate, and I'll just show you again. Here was yesterday's finish, right? We saw massive accumulation yesterday. And look at what we saw today. So it was what I thought we would see after we got over the 1,000 threshold. But the market didn't want to wait. We got up, we closed at, what is it? We were closed at 950 or 952. We knew we were up in that 980 range after hours. We were cruising. The stock looked like it was going to hit over 1,000, but the market had a different idea. Massive selling right out of the gate. You saw this stock flush down all the way down to about 907, a low. This was a low of 907 in this 5-minute candle right here. And it definitely had a little sideways chop throughout the morning. But then we saw support. And if you look at what we saw, a little bit of higher highs each day and some nice sideways consolidation into the close at 944 across the board. It was actually a pretty strong, it was a pretty positive performance, if you ask me, for SanDisk today, because what we saw out of the gate, I was expecting this stock to just kind of stay compressed, to stay pushed down. It's not what we saw. We saw a massive morning flush that you see with those huge candles down there. And I pushed it down to that support level of 905. But at that level, we saw the buyers come back in for the stock. We had a really nice V recovery that you can see in the morning there. It got up to those higher highs that I was talking about, those higher tops as we closed out the day, and then finished with that sideways consolidation with that little bit of final squeeze at the end that got us to a 944.46 finish on the day. The volatility that you're seeing is likely tied to the April 20th index date, or their inclusion on the NASDAQ 100 index. Because we know with index tracking, funds are required to buy a stock by Monday morning. Traders have been front running this move all week. I thought it would last a little longer into the week before we saw some profit taking. And most likely we'll see more profit taking because I think the stock will rally again. Today's early sell-off was likely just that. It was likely early profit taking for those who bought the initial announcement when they heard of the index inclusion, and we saw that massive return. I think we saw probably some investors start to sell at this point overall. But if you look down at the RSI, it's pretty neutral. It's sitting in that 55 range. You look down here at the bottom right of your screen, you can see the stock is not overextended. It's not oversold at this point. It is sitting very nice. It's very different than Micron's, quite frankly. Micron's was up over the 70 range, showing a little bit more of a kind of sold status for the stock. I think SanDisk technicals right now suggest a healthy consolidation. The chart that we're looking right here, it was essentially a reset of its momentum overall, making it probably a lot less vulnerable than the others and the other high flyers in this sector right now. The fact that it had a reset, it got back up to 944. We're looking probably at a coiled spring right now for SanDisk. This is the coiled spring of the sector. It always has been the way. It bounces really high. SanDisk spent today, in my opinion, shaking out the weak hands of the stock. The early morning flush was a gift for the whales. It was a gift for investors as well if you were able to get into some more of the stock, because you saw it reclaim back up to 944 overall. That is the market preparing for the mandatory positive index buy that starts tomorrow and particularly into Friday. If we missed the $1,000 mark today by a hair, we missed it hitting this morning because big money in the market ran for the exit earlier than we thought. But don't let that morning flush fool you. Look at that 907 and the support we saw in the chart after that. That's the hard floor for this stock. With the NASDAQ 100 inclusion set for Monday, the passive funds have to buy this stock. And the other story I'll just to show you that hit investing.com today was just that. Why is SanDisk falling today? It's all falling because of the aggressive profit taking following an extraordinary parabolic run. There was no other fundamental story that came out today that would explain what we saw with SanDisk. It was just what we thought it would be. I just thought it would be a little later in the week than right here on a Tuesday morning. I thought we'd have another day of run and cross the threshold before we saw that massive profit taking overall. But let's jump over now and just take a look at the storage players, and also just give you a quick look at the after hours, just to show you across the board. So Western Digital, again, set another record. It's shocking. Almost $16 gain, closed at 366. But this is, you look in the after hours, is what I'm telling you. It's down $3. That's not much. That doesn't worry me as much. It was actually down a little more earlier. So, but this is a consistent theme across all of them. And if we look at Seagate, same thing. Seagate 533.44, amazing for this performance. But if we look at the fair value, it's overbought, right? The price target, the average analyst price target is 505. It's overbought too. We're seeing a little bit of the same in the after hours, down 384.72, not a massive amount, but just a little bit of an adjustment. And if we look at Micron, what are we seeing here from Micron? Let me pull that over. Micron down $5 right now in the after hours, 1.18. So a massive day today. And then I think SanDisk is no different, right? SanDisk is going to be the same. You can see it was down $8 today, 0.84, but we're down another $8 right now in the after hours. So this is a bit of a common theme we're seeing right now. I get to just have this gut feeling, I hope I'm wrong, that we're going to see some trimming tomorrow. We're going to see some profit taking, maybe a bit of a healthy reset with the memory stocks, but it doesn't worry me at all. It's a healthy factor for any stock that's been on the run like these four have been on. Take some profits, let it reset, buyers will step back in based on the demand in the market, based on everything else we see. So I think we may see a little bit of that out of the start in the morning based on what we're seeing in the after hours too. So I would say for me, guys, the end of the day, the tape didn't lie today. SanDisk was no question about it, had a shakedown. And while that $1,000 level that I thought we would get today is playing a little bit of a hard to get because the market went earlier than I thought, the 907 floor showed today that it's holding firm. Don't let the noise distract you from the mandatory buying that we will see at the end of this week going into the Monday's opening. Those ETFs have to buy this stock. There will be passive buying for it. We saw Micron. It had such high conviction today. The high conviction close into Monday led to a high conviction gain today, a $40 gain across the board. The relentless march that we see with the storage players continued today. That tells us the real story overall for 2026. This isn't a cycle. This is a land grab right now. Now I want to give you my thoughts for tomorrow as we go into the opening bell. I've already shared it a little bit. I have this feeling we're going to see a little bit of pullback, especially seeing the after hours right now. But I think we have to keep our eye on Micron. And that RSI that we saw at the close today looks a little overextended. So I'm watching a bit for a back test. I think we're going to see a little bit of a pullback, potentially at a 435 level of support. And then we're going to see if the whales are hungry. If it gets there and it bounces right back, it shows a strong conviction. We saw a strong closing cross with Micron today, as I mentioned, at that 465 level. So will we see support bounce back? I want to see us break through that 470 level, because that is a level that we all hit and suffered together on this channel as we saw it decline after amazing earnings. So let's see what happens tomorrow. I do think we'll test the 435. We'll push back a little bit, but then see support jump in. With regards to SanDisk, we have to keep our eye on the 950 level. If we can clear that 950, stay above it early, the 1,000 chase for me, or the 1,000 threshold officially is back on. The shorts are trapped in that case. If we hold it at 950, we'll trap the shorts. And plus that index inclusion clock is ticking closer and closer every day. So I think we could start to push for that 1,000 again if we can stay above 950. I'll see you guys in the pre-market as we track the volume to see if this momentum carries into tomorrow's trading action, or if the after hours energy that we see right now is the action we see at the opening bell. But guys, trade smart, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great night.